you everyone. Today I'll be doing a versus on Blonde and Brunette, which are two of the three best epics inside of the game right now. Obviously, Gigantspino is the best. However, these two take the close second, and I'll be discussing which one is better. So in alphabetical, we'll start with Blonde. Of course, some nice animations, nice skin detail. So yeah, let's get into it. So, base speed, if we look at HP, Brunette is far stronger on HP. So you can see a difference, right? Blonde at level 13 has 2,200. Brunette at level 12 has 2,400. However, for damage, Blonde has a huge edge over. Brunette is a lot slower at 111, meaning 14 less speed. However, the good thing is, Brunette has 10% armor. Blonde has no armor. However, Brunette only has a 5% crit. Blonde has 10. So, for stats, not gonna lie, damage it feels is more needed in the game right now. Plus the crit chance as well and the speed. I'm gonna give stats to Blonde. Moving on to
skills.
Blonde's first move is Instant Cunning Strike. It cleanses wound and then targets the highest damage opponent, reducing their damage by 50% and reducing their critical chance by 100%, so they can't crit, unless they have resistance, of course. Then they remove critical chance increase and damage increase, and then you hit them, and you know what? Because why the hell not? You get a dodge as well. Yeah. Brunette's A1 is actually quite a different move. It's a unique move only exclusive to Brunette. It's called the Cleansing Formation. You cleanse damage reduction and critical chance reduction. However, it says cleansing, so in my opinion it should cleanse everything. And it increases your damage and crit chance for 25% for 2 turns sport attacks. Not too bad. Moving on to Brunette, who has the Group Devouring Impact. That's just what Tyrannometrodon has, basically. It targets everyone, destroys shield. You just do an impact and devour. And it's a good move. Which is, in my opinion, way better than Defense Shattering Revenge. In my opinion, Defense Shattering Revenge does literally nothing. Right, let me just be honest here. It does nothing. Defense Shattering Revenge is useless, in my opinion. It's a literal slightly better Fierce Impact, and that's it. Moving on to their final move, though, their signature moves. Blonde has got the Precise Piercing Rampage. You cleanse vulnerability, and then you go for a rampage, bypassing armor and dodge. Not too bad, however, it doesn't shatter. Brunette's signature move, which I think is better, is a little more complex. So, on secure, because it's called Alert Devouring Rampage, you cleanse vulnerability, so it's basically a first move. Then you root on, destroy shield, then you attack them for an impact, you bypass armor and devour heal 60% for 2 turns. However, if you're threatened, like under 50% health, you will heal 150% of damage to that, which means you're basically back to full health anyway, with only a cooldown of 2, and then you attack them, because why not? Okay, so honestly, if we're looking at skills and what they can do, in my personal opinion, just because of this move and what it can do, I'm going to give base, active skills to Brunette, meaning it is now 1-1. Yeah, because Blonde takes the edge for stats, Brunette's going to take the edge for these active skills. Now we're going to move on to these ones like passive skills, so counter attacks, on escapes, and swap-ins. Now, fortunately, these guys do not have any swap-ins, so yeah, it's just gonna be counter. So starting with Blonde, we have the Blighted Piercing counter, where you target and do a ton of damage, like quite a bit, and then you reduce healing for 2 turns. This thing is actually, Blonde is considered the only epic counter to the best epic in the game, which is Gigantspinosaurus. So, which gives this move some versatility. And then Critical Obstruction, the target is unable to swap out and try and escape, and you give yourself crit, giving you 40% crit, and you can do all of this again. So, personally, that's really OP. Brunette has no escape, which is nowhere near as good as Critical Obstruction. Critical What's the move called again? Critical obstruction. There we go. Defensive counter strike. You target yourself and shield by 50% for 2 turns, 4 attacks. That's good, and the speed's nice too, but it doesn't really do that much damage. So my opinion, just like passive skills, it's not even close. Blonde easily wins. For starters, Brunette's like passive on escape is pretty rubbish. I mean, Blonde's just got a better version of it. I'd say Blighted Piercing and the Counter Edge are basically tied. However, because of the passive on escape, I give Blonde the edge. And next up is going to be resistances. So, stun resistance. So I'm going to get a quick pull up of the screenshots and plow them together. Back in a sec, guys. Okay, guys, as we can see, we've got blonde resistances on the right, brunettes on the left. So they are both immune to stun, and they both have resistance to dot as well. However, brunette has slightly worse resistance to dot. Another good thing is brunette has render resistance, which is really good, and armor reduction, which doesn't really matter. Speed reduction and vulnerability, in my opinion, matters more. Same with damage reduction. So honestly, it's so close, but I'm gonna give the edge to blonde. So yeah. So guys, that leaves us at 3-1. Brunette has better active moves, however, blonde has better on everything else. And now, for the fun part, we're just gonna see how well they can do in some classic campaign battles. So guys, after that very close analysis, I now declare Blonde the winner and the strongest Becklespinax in the game. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more face-ups, then please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.